All stations verify, ready for launch. FTS.
FTS go.
Props go. AVI.
AVI's go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to our live launch coverage of the Commercial GTO-1 mission. Falcon 9 is currently awaiting liftoff at 1:04 a.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Hello everyone, my name is Tucker Spencer Wallace and I'm a Mission Integration Engineer here at SpaceX.
And I'm Zachary Lupin, an avionics supply chain engineer, and we are coming to you from Hawthorne, California.
This will be the 13th flight for the booster flying on today's mission, which previously supported 7 Starlink missions, as well as NASA's Crew 8 mission, Polaris Dawn, the CRS-31 resupply mission to the International Space Station, and more. After stage separation today, the booster will once again head back to Earth, this time targeting a landing on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, which is currently stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. At our customer's request, we will be ending our live launch coverage just after first stage landing.
So at just over 8 minutes to go, we are looking good for an on-time liftoff. The vehicle is healthy, the range is ready to support, and weather is holding steady with a 20% possibility of weather-related launch constraints. If for any reason we are unable to launch today, a backup opportunity is available tomorrow at 1:04 a.m. Eastern Time. So while that clock ticks closer to T0, let's learn a bit more about the rocket flying on tonight's mission. That's Falcon 9 there on your screen, a two-stage rocket that is 229 feet tall and getting ready for liftoff in just about 7 minutes and 40 seconds from now. At launch, it produces more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust, which is enough to lift more than its own weight. And that's what is known as its thrust-to-weight ratio, and is what allows it to rise off the pad and keep accelerating towards space.
The bottom section is the first stage, or booster, powered by 9 Merlin 1D engines. Those engines will burn for the first couple of minutes, carrying Falcon 9 through the thickest layers of Earth's atmosphere. Early in flight, Falcon 9 will perform a gravity turn, a smooth pitch maneuver that tilts the rocket sideways to build up horizontal velocity.
Because getting to orbit isn't about going straight up, it's about accelerating so fast. Good call out there. It's about accelerating so fast that it never lands. And that's what achieving orbital velocity is. Now, once the first stage completes its portion of the mission, the engines shut down and it separates away from the rest of the vehicle. A staged rocket like Falcon 9 sheds the booster, so Stage 2 and the payload can keep climbing faster and more efficiently.
Again, after stage separation, today's booster will land on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, out in the Atlantic Ocean. And as we mentioned, this particular booster will be returning to Earth for its 13th time. Once separation is complete, the second stage takes over.
Stage 1, RP1 load complete.
Good call out there. Like I said, the second stage takes over, powered by a single Merlin vacuum engine, also known as the MVAC. With its extended nozzle and optimized design, the MVAC drives maximum performance in the vacuum of space. And finally, topping it all off, is the payload fairing, a 17-foot wide carbon composite shell that protects the satellite during the uphill trip through the atmosphere. Approximately 3 minutes into flight, both halves of the fairing will separate and parachute back to Earth. Both fairing halves on today's flight are flight proven, one half flying for its 18th time and the other for its 14th time. If recovery goes to plan, the fairings will be pulled from the ocean and prepped to fly again. So much of what makes Falcon 9 remarkable happens in flight. Stages separating, the first stage landing itself on a drone ship in the middle of the ocean, and fairings parachuting back again, all ready for another flight to space.
Every part of Falcon 9 is part of a larger design that comes together to do one thing: escape gravity. And that is the first step in building our multi-planetary future.
Next up in the countdown, the Transporter Erector, or TE, will begin to retract from Falcon 9. The TE is the large truss structure
Tanks are pressing for the start of Stromback retract.
Good call out there. Like I was saying, the TE is the large trussed structure you see standing next to the rocket. It's hinged at the base and connected to the launch mount beneath the first stage.
First, we'll see the clamp arms around the second stage open, and then the TE will begin to pivot back, slowly swinging away from the rocket. And it'll reach full recline around the T-3 minute and 40-second mark.
Stromback retract has started.
And good call out there. While we definitely see some white clouds around the vehicle, those clamp arms are beginning to open around the Falcon 9 second stage. Now you may also hear it called the Strongback. Same structure, different name. And the TE does a lot more than lean. It rolls Falcon 9 out to the pad, raises it vertical, and stays connected through the final seconds. It provides fuel, power, telemetry, and command connections between ground systems and the rocket.
As you're seeing on your screen right now, those arms are retracting, and those clamps that you're seeing at the top do help stabilize the second stage during fueling and also prevent movement in high winds. Once they're fully open, as you can see on your screen, the rocket is fully free at the top. And right now, both stages are loaded with roughly 1 million pounds of propellant. That includes RP1, a highly refined kerosene, and liquid oxygen, which has been chilled to about -300 degrees Fahrenheit.
Now, propellant is loaded late in the countdown, and that's intentional. Colder propellants are denser, and denser propellants mean more performance out of the same tanks. The colder it is, the more mass you can move. Now, before any of that propellant flows, though, the plumbing and engines are chilled down, and that prevents thermal shock and boil-off when the ultra-cold liquid starts moving. And you may hear that referred to as engine chill.
Stage 1, LOX load complete.
As you just heard over the nets, we have just finished LOX loading, and as that loading is wrapping up, it does wrap up in 2 steps. The first stage finishes around T-minus 3 minutes, while the second stage finishes just about a minute later. You've also probably noticed some white clouds venting from the rocket. That's not smoke, it's condensation. As the liquid oxygen warms slightly inside of the tanks, some of it boils off, and that gas is vented to manage pressure inside the vehicle. When the vented oxygen hits the warm, humid Florida air, it instantly condenses into clouds, which is the same principle as your breath on a cold morning, just on a much larger scale.
Now the tanks are also pressurized using helium, and that helium is chilled too, so it stays compatible with the cryogenic plumbing. Now during flight, that pressurization helps force propellant into the engines as the tanks empty. Now at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will enter startup, and at that point, the rocket's onboard flight computers will take over. And from there on out, the countdown.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And good call out there. From there on out, the countdown is fully autonomous. Now we did hear that call out that stage 2 LOX loading is complete, which means that Falcon 9 now has 1 million pounds of rocket grade kerosene and oxidizer loaded up on the vehicle.
As we approach that T-minus 60 second mark, I just want to remark that once we are inside the T-minus 2 seconds, the 9 Merlin 1D engines will ignite, and once they're at full power...
Ground gas closeouts.
Another good call out there. Once those Merlin 1D engines are at full power, Falcon 9 will lift off the pad and begin its climb to orbit. As of now, the payload remains healthy, the rocket is tracking no issues, weather is green, and the range is clear to support our scheduled liftoff at 1:04 a.m. Eastern Time, just over a minute away. With that, Falcon 9 is fully fueled, just about to enter startup, and headed into the final minute before launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And there's that call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. We're now waiting for the final go from our launch director for today's mission.
Launch director, go for launch.
Excellent call out from the launch director there that we are go for today's mission. So let's sit back and watch as Falcon 9 takes our payload to space.
T-minus 30 seconds. Fifteen seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engines full power. And liftoff. Go SpaceX, go Commercial GTO-1.
Falcon 9 is pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
At T plus 30 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. During ascent, we tilt or gimbal the engines on the booster, and that turns the rocket horizontally, a maneuver known as a gravity turn. So the
Power and telemetry nominal.
healthy call out there from the rocket. As the rocket is still going up, it is also now heading horizontally away from the launch pad.
And moments ago, we throttled the engines
Falcon
down.
9 is supersonic.
We throttled the engines down on the first stage in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure. This is a critical moment during flight because the combined stresses caused by Falcon 9 accelerating through the atmosphere and the ambient static pressure are at their
Max
greatest.
Q.
And there's that call out for max Q. Now the rocket typically needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and get into orbit.
You can track our progress to orbit by keeping an eye on the Stage 1 telemetry in the bottom of your screen. Now we have several events coming up in quick succession. Main engine cutoff, or MECO.
MVAC chill has started.
Good call out. Stage separation, second engine start 1, or SES-1, and fairing separation. And just as a reminder, we will not have any Stage 2 views today, including separation, and the remainder of our webcast will follow the Falcon 9 booster's return to Earth.
Now, main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines shut down to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation, which is where the first stage separates from the second stage. Followed by this, the MVAC engine on the second stage will light.
Trajectory nominal.
Good call out there. and that second stage will light, which is called out as Second Engine Start 1 or SES-1.
This engine burn will propel the second stage and the payload to orbit. In addition to these three major events, the fairing halves will separate shortly after SES-1, though again, as we mentioned, we will not be seeing that tonight.
Miko.
As you just heard, we've just passed through many
Stage separation confirmed.
excellent callouts coming in here from the nets.
Evac ignition.
And good callouts there. Now coming up in just a few moments, we should be hearing a callout for fairing separation. Now both fairing halves on today's mission are flight proven, with one half flying for its 18th time and the other for its 14th time. And these will be retrieved by our recovery vessel Bob once they fall back down to Earth. We should be hearing
trajectories.
good call out there. We should be hearing that call out for fairing separation in just a few moments from now.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And good call out there for fairing separation.
We are now at 3 minutes and 40 seconds into today's mission, with the next major milestone coming up just past the T+6 minute mark, which will be the first stage entry burn. For this entry burn, we'll relight 3 of the M1D engines on the first stage, starting with the center E9 engine, followed shortly after by the E1 and E5 engines. This helps slow down the vehicle as the rocket passes into the Earth's denser lower atmosphere, and we need to slow the rocket down to reduce the re-entry forces, which ultimately helps us recover and reuse the first stage.
Now, during the entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating by firing its Merlin engines, but the vehicle is still moving really fast, and this causes the vehicle to fly through Merlin's exhaust gases, and this deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle surface, which is why our flight-proven vehicles look the way they do. And that soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses. Now, while we do have some pretty grainy views right now because it is so dark with the cameras from the booster, you can keep an eye on the speed and altitude of the booster at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen.
As we continue to make our way towards that entry burn, I want to take a couple moments here to talk about reusability, which is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which in turn enables more investment in critical scientific research. The Falcon 9 first stage that is supporting today's mission is flying for its 13th time, and while this booster is only on its 13th trip to space, we're working toward qualifying our fleet of Falcon boosters and fairings to support 40 missions each. And for those following along, we're currently at 29 flights of a single Falcon booster, which is absolutely phenomenal. Increasing Falcon's flight count provides valuable information and repeated reuse, which is a critical element for making life multiplanetary. Now we're just about 40 seconds away from the beginning of the entry burn, so keep your eyes peeled on that screen and watch the telemetry at the bottom of your screen where you'll see the graphics light up as the engines do.
Now, as a reminder, the booster flying on today's mission is flying for its 13th time, having previously supported NASA's Crew 8 mission, Polaris Dawn, the CRS-31 mission, to the International Space
entry burn startup.
To the International Space Station and
Stage
more.
1 FTS has safed.
And there's that call out for the entry burn startup on the Falcon 9 first stage.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
And good call out there for entry burn shutdown of the Falcon 9 first stage. Now, the Merlin engines on the Falcon first stage.
Remain nominal.
Good call out there. The Merlin engines on the Falcon first stage are optimized for sea level, and these achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent. The single MVAC engine on the second stage has a much wider nozzle and is optimized to operate in space, producing 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum. 30 seconds from now, we should be hearing a call out for SECO-1, which will be the shutdown of the second stage MVAC engine. As a reminder, though, we will not have views of this milestone at the request of our customer.
Stage 2 has entered terminal guidance.
There. Now, immediately after that SECO-1 call out, we should have startup of the landing burn on the Falcon 9 first stage. Now, the landing burn is the final burn of the
Stage
Falcon.
1 transonic.
Another good call out there. The landing burn is the final burn of the Falcon 9 booster, used to reduce the remaining speed of the vehicle in order to allow for a precision
Stage
landing.
2 FTS has safed.
Another good call out there. And that landing burn is to allow for a precision landing on our drone ship. We should be hearing that call out for the first stage landing burn in just a few moments from now.
SECO.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And we are now waiting for Falcon 9 to land on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Great call-outs there from the second stage while we're watching the first stage land.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there you saw and heard the call-out for successful landing of our Falcon 9 rocket. Again, this was the 13th launch and landing for this first stage.
Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, at our customer's request, we will be ending today's webcast after this landing. So that'll be wrapping up our launch coverage for this mission. Now, for those of you that have been keeping track over the years, we've hit an awesome milestone with this mission. Falcon 9's inaugural flight took place on June 4th, 2010, lifting off from the same pad we launched from today. And tonight, we are thrilled to be here for Falcon 9's 500th successful launch.
And what a serious milestone that is. I could not be more proud of the entire SpaceX team. From all of us here at SpaceX, we would like to thank our customer for entrusting us with today's mission. We also want to thank the Eastern Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's launch. And a big thanks to all of you for your support and for tuning in to today's mission.
And remember to follow at SpaceX on X for launch updates and check spacex.com/launches for more information. And we'll see you here again very soon.